It's Beer and Food O'Clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today's pairing brings us to Crabbie's IPA. It's an alcoholic ginger beer coming in at 4.7% ABV, 500ml bottle, and I'm going to be pairing it with Dr. Oetker's Ristorante Pizza Pepperoni Salame. Cooks in 10 to 15 minutes. Be back in a moment. Let's get cooking. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes left on the pizza, so let's get the beer out into a glass, see what we get. There's the bottle cap. Nice bit of smoke on the bottle opening. Beer in the glass then. Interested with this. The reason why I'm interested is when I first got into beer, I remember when Crabbie's was launched. And back then, didn't know too much about beer, but I kind of liked it. It was different. After trying it recently, I figured it was way too sweet for my palate today, which is a very hop-forward palate. So it's interesting to see that they brought out an IPA, and I'm wondering if they've balanced out that sweetness with some bitterness. One finger whitehead, good levels of carbonation. Amber coloured beer. Already though, probably the wrong colour for an IPA. It's way too dark. It's going to be way too malty. Let's get the aroma. Clear beer in the glass. It smells exactly like the ginger beer, but they've probably thrown a lot of hops in. But big ginger presence going on. And sweet and malty. Did I say it's 4.7% ABV? Well, I have now. Let's get into it. Cheers! Just reading the back. Let me get into it first. Do you know, if you had a sweet tooth, which a lot of people do, you would really like this beer, I think. I like that ginger bite you get from Crabbie's. I always have. But the beer is sweet. It is sweet. Is it anything like an IPA? Spicy, little bit of bitterness. What they've done, I just read the back here, so they blended it with Sadler's IPA, Sadler's Brewery's IPA, so they've not kind of made their own beer in effect, they've kind of blended two beers together, which is an interesting idea, but I think if Crabbie's really wanted to go the whole hog and produce a really good ginger beer style IPA, then they would throw a load of hops in, change the malt out. The malt would have to be a lot lighter than this. Put some crystal malt in there, take away a lot of that red malt. It's too kind of toffee-ish and biscuity-ish to carry the IPA. It needs to be, for me, crystal malt, loads of hops on the back end, and then the ginger beer. However you make that, probably just throw a load of ginger in it. It's not the worst beer in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly not an IPA. It's certainly a ginger beer, but the IPA part, miles off. Let's get this pizza out of the oven. So I can tell you a little bit about this pizza. Here it is, sliced up. It began life in Lidl. Lidl back in the day, probably 10-15 years ago, used to use kind of like contracted people. They used to, like, that was probably a German, I imagine, I've not looked at where it's from, but a German pizza. People liked it that much that they decided, Dr. Oetker, to roll it out into other supermarkets, not just Lidl. So I think it used to be, the reason why it was such a popular pizza was the fact that it was £1 and it was really good. You had lots of pepperoni on it for the money. It was a cheap pizza, it was £1. These days you're probably paying £1.50. You can get it in a range of supermarkets throughout the UK now, and probably Europe. But Dr. Oetker made their name from being a little kind of pizza. Let's get into it, shall we? See if it still tastes the same as it used to years ago. Always very tasty. What I find with the pizza is that it's nice and spicy. The tomato's got good flavour. It's a really juicy pizza. It's one of those saucy pizzas. It's got a little bit of juice to it, a little bit of kind of probably fat, to be honest. The cheese tastes good. Pepperoni's nice and spicy. It's just something easy. I mean, it's Friday night here in the UK. I whacked a couple of pizzas on for the kids. Whacked my own pizza in the oven. It took no more than 15 minutes, and it goes great with a beer. Bread's nice and crispy. I really like that cheese and tomato taste that just combines. It's just really lovely and juicy and satisfying, and I've said it before, I have come in for some stick on this, but I'm going to be honest, I'm going to carry on saying it because it's just my own view on things. When you can get a pizza like that for £1 to £1.50 from a supermarket, why would you go out and spend £15 on a Domino's pizza or the other one, Papa John's, £15? And it's for me, this is a very nice pizza. I like Domino's, I like Papa John's, but it just, for me, just doesn't justify that £15. Like, almost, and I've said it before in reviews, when I do pizzas, I almost burst into tears when when the kids want it and the wife wants it, and it comes, by the time you order a few pizzas, it's 50 quid, and you're thinking, it's a bit of cheese, a bit of tomato, maybe a bit of pepperoni or whatever the kids want. It's 50 quid. It's a lot of money for pizza. How would it go with a beer? Not too bad. I mean, the ginger in the beer is a little bit, it's kind of clashing with the spiciness of the pepperoni. The ginger from the beer, it's like a weird kind of spicy battle going on in my mouth. It's probably why they don't put ginger on pizzas. If it was a regular IPA, I think it would go really well. A really good IPA, 60 IBUs, American IPA, that would go perfect with a pizza. As it is, the sweetness of the beer now just becomes even more profound. When you have a bit of savoury food, a sweet beer becomes even sweeter. That's what I find. So, let's rate it. Ristorante, £1, between £1 and £1.50. Absolute bargain as of 2019. If you're watching this in 30 years in the future, you're probably looking at £5 with inflation. But 2019, £1.50, I think I paid for this pizza. Absolute bargain. The beer, I think I paid £1 or so for the beer. I knew what I was getting into with the beer. Crabbie's ginger beer was never going to be the best beer that you can ever buy. You know, it's not a craft beer, but for what I think I paid about £1 for it. 4.7% ABV. Could be a lot more like an IPA if I was going to be really critical. I am being really critical. It's okay. Beer, 6 out of 10. Pizza, for the price, £1.50. It's got to be a 9. 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Put your comments in the comments box. Please subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom! Cheers.